Thank you. Dimitri, I love that. War, the space race, and now the circular economy as things to invest in. I suppose I'd very roughly summarise what I was going to say, especially having heard what everyone else has had to say, as we know where we want to get to, but we lack the incentives to get there. And I think Dimitri's just spelled out in brilliant detail that we lack the incentives to investment, especially galling if there is money around. We just don't quite know how to get it into this sector. So everything everyone said confirms, I suppose, everything I know from Green Alliance work and work elsewhere. The idea of a circular economy is now reasonably well embedded. When Green Alliance held a conference with the CBI last year, the EU Environment Commissioner used that language, our Secretary of State for Environment used that language, and perhaps most importantly, our Secretary of State for Business, Vince Cable, used that language. So we have the idea, and organisations like Green Alliance and Aldersgate Group and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation are starting to put some flesh on it. So we know that it's about product design, it's about product lifespan, it's about how you marry up product design and choosing the right materials for the right product with the systems of recovery. So of course this industry is part of that circle, characterised, as David has said, not as a waste industry, but as a resource industry. These industries will somewhere, I think, well into the future be part of that circle and have all the right expertise to do that. What we don't have, as everyone has said, is the incentives to join it all up into that circle. And so while we congratulate ourselves in the UK on being on a slightly better path than we were, from our abysmal recycling rates a decade ago to 40% domestically and maybe 50% and more for industrial waste, we still landfill around half of what comes through our hands. And then set that against, as many people have said, the resource security argument about all that valuable stuff that is still being landfilled. And the figure from UNEP that of all the metals we use, we hardly recycle any at more than 50%. Then we know we're really not on the right path. And whatever policies have been put in place so far have maybe been necessary, but certainly not sufficient. And there's no logic in staying in this kind of pattern when we now have the waste problem, as it used to be characterised as an end-of-pipe thing, overlaid with the resource security concerns and constraints and all the other environmental externalities that we know we face. So, as Dimitri said, the crux is how do you get everyone to do things in a new way? I'm sure everyone in this room would like to do things in a different way that meets those aspirations, but the incentives aren't aligned. And as also been said, we've had PFI, it's been widely criticised, but as somebody with a long history in the waste industry said to me yesterday, whatever we think about it, without it, we'd be nowhere. So we know that some major instruments and major investments are needed. The question is, how do we do that in a time when we know, as Dimitri says, that the cost of capital is high and risk aversion is very high, and yet in the public sphere, the appetite for direction and anything that looks like imposing burdens on business is extremely low, and the appetite for spending public money is even lower. And even propositions like the Green Investment Bank to stimulate investment in waste infrastructure are beginning to look horrendously risk-averse and putting themselves into the same kind of picture. So the question is, how do we unlock investment towards what everyone agrees is the worthy goal? And I hope Green Alliance will be playing a part in answering that question. Under the Resource Security Action Plan produced by DEFRA and BIS, we've been tasked with convening what we're calling the Circular Economy Task Force, which will be in our previously tried and tested mode of having a consortium of leading businesses to lend their expertise and weight. But we also have DEFRA support and buy-in to this effort, which should also bring us engagement with BIS and DEC, I'm hoping. So we are going to be addressing in that smallish group the questions about how we unlock investment towards a circular economy. So I'm very pleased to have had the opportunity to at least briefly address that. It will be formally launched on the 27th of June. Thank you very much.